Great. Well, welcome everybody to our July Diversity Advisory Board meeting. Thank you for being here tonight. I think we can jump right into the agenda here. I don't know that we have quorum right now, Paolo, so I'm not sure we can technically vote on the minutes. But I'll ask for folks to take a look at them right now anyway, and let us know if you have any comments.
Isn't it 7 people for quorum?
Does it include or not include alternates?
Not alternates. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I see 7.
Okay, we're good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any comments on those meeting minutes from last month? No. All right. Can I have a motion to approve them then? Shara, motions to approve the meeting minutes from June. Do I have a second? All right. I saw Roman as a second. All in favor, excuse me. Any opposed? Fantastic. Motion carries. Meeting minutes are approved for June. Moving on to public comment. Paolo, will you please facilitate that portion of the agenda?
Yeah, of course. I'm going over to our attendees list, and I'll go ahead and press the allow to talk button. But it looks like we have Jenna Hughes here. And if this is the Jenna I think it is, welcome, Jenna Hughes.
Hi, hello everyone. I normally come to these meetings all the time. Just to have a city planning presence. So I don't really have anything to announce formally. I mean, I'll likely be coming back next month because I do have a new project that I think you all will be interested in. And we just launched the website. And it's called the Shelter Code Project. So we'll be looking at where homeless shelters will be allowed in Beaverton. And so I definitely want to come and give a formal presentation, hopefully next month, but I'll talk to Alexis about that. So just keep that on your radar. And there is a website for it. And if you want to sign up to the Notify Me list, you can go ahead and do that. And I can paste the link in the chat. But that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Jenna. Hey, Jody. I don't know if you're back there. I think you let me know you might be in transit, but if you were there, would you like to say hello to the board?
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me. Hi, this is Jody, the Beaverton Night Market Manager, just here to watch and observe.
Cool. Thanks for being here, Jody. It's good hearing your voice. It looks like we have Mike with us. Mike, how are you?
Can you hear me?
There you are. We can hear you.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Mike Mulligan. I am the chair of Beaverton's Bicycle Advisory Committee. And I wanted to share with you a suggestion or a project that a former board member of ours is working on. His name's Will Cortez. And in January of this year, he helped found a new bike group. It's called Bike POC Northwest. And they've been doing, it's a group now of about 200 individuals. They've been doing rides, like 1 to 3 rides per month. And they also help to co-organize the AAPI Solidarity Ride in Portland this year. And Will has been a member of the Bicycle Advisory Committee a number of years ago. He was on for about 6 years. He's currently the chair of the West Side Transportation Alliance. And he is interested in trying to do a ride in the Beaverton area. And essentially what he wants to try to do is have a ride about 10 to 15 miles and be able to try to highlight some of the BIPOC owned businesses that are in the city. We've always done the bicycle advisor or the bike Beaverton ride. So he's thinking about maybe a similar type route, but wanting to try to highlight some of the businesses here in the area. Thinking about trying to start it by mass transit or an area where there's also parking for people that might want to drive out. And he's really kind of looking now just for some input, working on developing this. It's not has to be part of the traditional Pedalpalooza that goes on in the summer. And he gave us some information. I wasn't at our last board meeting last week, but our committee has shared some suggestions with him on the ride. So he's really kind of looking for some high level input from individuals and identifying businesses, looking at kind of designing a route, and is certainly interested in being able to come and talk with your committee, maybe at a future date, or connect individually with folks on the committee. So just wanted to share that and put that out there as something that's of interest in trying to develop another ride here in Beaverton. Thank you, Mike.
How do folks get a hold of you or somebody in the Bicycle Advisory Committee if they have any suggestions?
I can, so what I could do is send to your community liaison. I've got Will's contact information. He's probably going to be the best person to reach out to on this. So I could have Gene get you that information if that would be the best route. Okay, cool. Yeah, sounds good. And then I think Will certainly would be interested, as I said, in being able to come to a future meeting. He just had another meeting tonight, and I said I would go to bat for him just to get that idea out there. Cool. Sounds good. All right. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. I muted myself and started talking. That's great. Is there anybody else? Let's see. Looks like that's everybody for public comment. Back to you, Rachel.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We're going to move on to our liaison reports next. Looks like we do not have Councilor Soucie with us this evening. And I don't think Karenna is here either. So let's move right to the Beaverton Police Department liaison report with Lieutenant Stellingwerf.
All right, hello everyone, good evening. I don't have a whole lot. We finally attended our first event during this post-COVID thing we're going through right now, and that was a Pride event at the library a couple weekends ago, and it was a pretty successful event, good turnout. Our officers were very well received, and it was all around positive thing for the first event in a long time. So I imagine we're going to see some more of that stuff as the summer goes on. So it'll be nice. The second thing for National Night Out, which typically occurs on August 3rd, and if you recall years ago, we would have it over by the library in that area. But this year we're kind of doing a hybrid thing where kind of going back to the way it kind of started out. National Night Outs where neighbors, you get out, get to know each other, mingle with your local police and things like that. So we're asking any neighborhoods that are having any National Night Out events that they're welcome to send us an email, and we'll send some officers out to that neighborhood, talk to some of the folks in the neighborhood, and they'll have some swag, for the kiddos and some other stuff. So if you live in any neighborhoods where something like that's going on, feel free to contact us. I put the website address in the chat here. It's at the beginning of the chat, so you might have to go back up a little bit, but it's the community services mailbox. So send that in, and somebody from our division will get a hold of you, and that's pretty much it, unless anybody has any questions.
Thanks, Neil. I repasted the address.
Okay. Thank you. All right, perfect. All right. Wow. Nice to see everyone.
Thank you, Lieutenant Stellingwerf.
Yep. Good night.
All right, Teresa, do you have an HTAG report?
Yes, very short HTAG report. Thank you. So just disclaimer once again, HTAG stands for Housing Technical Advisory Group, acronym. And we had a follow-up again with the update on how Cooper Mountain and South Cooper Mountain neighborhoods are developing. We had Carissa Phipps, who is a planner for the city of Beaverton, come and let us know about the plans for that area. So as some of you may or may not know, there is an affordable housing project through Washington County going on in the South Cooper Mountain area, as well as the Housing Technical Advisory Group, or moreover the city of Beaverton, which is going to have a apartment complex built literally across the street from the project in the Washington County Affordable Housing Project. And as that area continues to get built up, as of right now, there are about 3,000 homes, and the projected amount at the end of 2022 is 8,000. So still a lot of growth, and they're continuing to try their best to preserve the natural areas, working with THPRD for bike trails, park trails, walking trails, and really keeping the green space green, as well as the reservoirs that are already there. For those of you who do or do not know, that is where Beaverton's emergency water is. So in the event of an earthquake, that is where Beaverton will get their supply, our supply of emergency water. So that project is continuing to go on and have pipes connect there. That area is being fitted for various pipes. They're called purple pipes. So purple pipes and different types of pipes, basically to innovate the way we use our water to make sure we're maximizing our water use. So those community members that are living there and moving there as we speak right now are technically Washington County. They are not annexed into the city of Beaverton. So that will be something that the city of Beaverton has a conversation about in 2022. So we'll have to cross our fingers and wait until that. So if you're thinking about moving to that area, maybe do it, don't do it, because you won't technically be a part of the city of Beaverton. You'll be an unincorporated Washington County until 2022 when they vote to become a part of the city of Beaverton. So lots of discussion about housing around that conversation. And that is my HTAG report. Back to you, Rachel.
I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you for the report. Some of the community members are asking me about, because they know we are involved with housing and this and that, they're asking about the list of housing in that area or the affordable housing in Beaverton. Do you have any access to that? You can give them to me so I can deliver it to the people who want to have that information, please.
Yes, you and I can chat one-on-one offline. I'll be in touch with you after the meeting to give you all the information I have about the affordable housing projects within the city of Beaverton, including the one in the South Cooper Mountain area.
Thank you so much.
And if anyone else has questions, just put it in the chat for the purpose of time so we can move forward. Great questions, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. All right, time to take a look at our bylaws. We do have some additions to our bylaws to take a look at. Yeah, perfect. You're already sharing your screen. Thanks, Paolo. So we're going to take a look at the track changes version of our bylaws, just so we can get a better sense of what those changes are. They're pretty minor. As we discussed last month, the purpose statement is changed a bit just to be consistent with the language that we've already been using as reflected, for example, on our website. After our input last month, Alexis did have some additions. One included a statement about advising on city policies and funding priorities. And then also in reviewing and giving feedback on the DEI plan annual report. So that is another proposed addition. And then I think one other thing that Alexis caught was that the alternates number said 2 and should be 3. So it's being moved back to 3. And hopefully I've captured those major changes. So I'll just ask if anybody has any questions or comments at this point.
Just a reminder, folks, that in case you didn't see it, I recently sent out the most up-to-date bylaws that already show all these changes, and it's like pretty and clean, in case you want to reference that.
Thank you for sending that out today, Paolo. I did see that in the email from earlier today and printed it out. Sometimes it's easier for my eyes to see the clean version after seeing the one we're working off of for some time. So thank you for that.
Rachel shared a great reminder. Thank you, Chair.
Doesn't seem like we have too many comments right now. Does everybody feel pretty much maybe ready to vote and approve this? We'll just take a visual check here with a thumbs up or thumbs down. Seeing a lot of thumbs ups. Cool. Well, then I'll just ask for a motion to approve this revised version of our bylaws.
I, Teresa, would like to make the motion with the exception of changing the 2 to the 3 alternates as previously discussed. Then I would like to make a motion to approve the bylaws of the Diversity Advisory Board as stated.
Teresa, let me clarify. Did you just say not to change the number of alternates from 2 to 3?
Well, you made a point of clarification that we have 3, not 2. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So if the maximum of 2, we're already in violation because we're over.
Right, I'm saying it should reflect 3 alternates. That is what the bylaws should say. And actually, I think in the version that Paolo sent, it does say 3.
It should say 3 in the version that I sent, so it would reflect that change.
Yeah, so it does say 3 in the version that Paolo sent. So we would be good. That was just a change that Alexis caught.
And with that, I still stand that I make the motion to approve the bylaws for the Diversity Advisory Board.
Okay, thanks, Teresa. Do I have a second? Okay, I saw Shara first, so I'll say she seconded. All in favor, please say aye or give me a thumbs up. Are there any opposed?
Looking at the screens, Rachel, I don't see any oppositions.
Fantastic. Looks like we have updated bylaws. Thanks, everyone. Okay. Next up, we are cruising today, folks. We might get out early. Fingers crossed. Next up, we have a discussion on the recommendations that were brought forth by one of our temporary working committees, subcommittees on the American Rescue Plan funds that the city of Beaverton is expecting to get. Thank you again, Paolo, for sharing that document. There was a lot of discussion last month about the version that we were working off of, and it sounded like it deserves some further discussion. So that is what we're doing tonight. We want to go over a couple things here, but first, one of the overarching things that we were hearing was an issue with some language. I believe the previous language said historically marginalized groups or communities, excuse me, and folks felt like that wasn't the best terminology to use. And I believe BIPOC communities was recommended as a substitute. And so you will notice here that BIPOC communities has been inserted in all of those areas where it previously said historically marginalized communities. Does everybody feel okay about that? Or does that point need more discussion? and I will take silence as you feel okay about it.
Teresa, is your hand up?
Yes, sir, my hand is raised. So yes, I just wanted to add on to what Rachel said, and just for my own, and I'm certain someone else may have the same sentiments as well, as a point of clarification, so that the discussion points that we're going to have are to clarify whether we want to have historically marginalized groups as it was there, or if we're going to put to support BIPOC, or if we're going to use the language of more ethnically specific groups. And so if those were the discussion question points, to keep the verbiage support BIPOC families struggling due to COVID-19. Obviously, we had discussed deleting historically marginalized people and families struggling due to COVID-19. So if we're just agreeing on that and then moving forward to be done with this document, just a point of clarification, is that correct?
So, sorry, I'll put my hand up. So I have something to say about that. So it says support BIPOC families. I'm wondering if we should add support BIPOC families and organizations struggling due to COVID and day-to-day living, because COVID is almost eradicated now, I would say. And, most people have been vaccinated. So it might not be an issue for some people. It might more be day-to-day living that they're more concerned about now. And BIPOC families, I would add, and organizations, because the families do feed into the organizations and they talk to people in the organizations who they're familiar with and who they feel comfortable talking with. And those organizations can then, if they're funded in a certain way, they can then distribute it to the families that they feel that need it the most. I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
Monica, I saw your hand.
Yes, I am the subcommittee for this part of it. And we were talking about, in general, we want the help and support for everybody in the community who needs that. So not having a specific groups, anyone who needs help. And that's what we want to have. We don't want to have a specific groups having the priorities, because I feel like it's not fair. So the language from the beginning was for the community in general. So I don't know if is that exactly what you guys are talking about to change. I don't see I think it's only Manager who's there for the subcommittee when we develop that. So I don't know if we're going to be able to have another discussion with the whole subcommittee, or it's not going to be possible. I don't know. Can somebody clarify to me about that, please?
I don't think the plan is for the subcommittee to get back together. I think the plan is to finish our discussion this month and get our recommendations out to City Council. So this is our opportunity to fine tune this document. I would like to return to Rehana's comment. How do people feel about adding and organizations to the short-term priorities goal? So it would say support BIPOC families and organizations struggling due to COVID-19. Sort of broadens the scope a little. Teresa.
I agree. I was just going to say that I think that adding the verbiage of organizations would broaden the scope of people who would receive help. And that's something I feel more comfortable with, that certainly organizations can reach out to countless families, while families, they are the direct consumer of that assistance and, you know, may or may not have the network to assist as many people. We're assuming they do, but by creating the language for nonprofits, I think that'd be great.
Okay.
For clarification, y'all, so I'm just taking notes on the side so I could share them with Alexis. I don't want to mess with this. Adding BIPOC communities and organizations to all of them. All of them are currently assessed BIPOC instead of, what does it say? Instead of historically marginalized communities.
Yeah, it's caught up.
I agree with Teresa and Rehane.
Okay.
And there is a question about clarifying the organization, because we're talking about BIPOC. I think that is clarified. I don't know.
That's the point. I think there'd be enough money to go around to the various organizations that serve the different communities.
I also just want to add, Alex just added a comment in the chat box for folks to take a look at about if we include organizations, we might want to define what kind of organization, if we're specifically saying nonprofits. Perhaps maybe a suggestion here would be to say BIPOC families and organizations serving BIPOC communities. I don't know that it necessarily has to be a nonprofit, although I think that most organizations who are doing that kind of work would be 501c3s. But just some more food for thought.
May I please?
Sure.
If we go with organizations, some organizations dedicate only to some groups, specifically for some communities, for some, and in my head, I would like to see everybody benefiting from it. Every single one, of every single family that it needs, it doesn't matter who they are or what group they belong, just as community. So I want to know if the organizations, sometimes they have only for specific groups, and if they're going to be in charge or they're going to be coming to help and distributing or helping out, the concern will be like, is everybody else, everyone who needs is going to be able to get what they need? That's my question.
Okay, so Monica, let me ask you a question. Are you uncomfortable with specifying it as being directed just toward BIPOC communities? So you're saying to include communities outside of folks who would identify as part of that group?
Yeah, I mean, the thought and the idea was to be able to help everyone with exceptions. With the only requisite will be they need it. They really need it. They need the help. They need they are struggling in any way, and that we can help. It doesn't matter the ethnicity of the group or anything. It has to be for everybody. So I think I'm confused. I think I'm misunderstanding what it means, or the way that I see it, it means that organizations have their own way to doing things, and they specifically help some specific groups. So I don't know. I don't want, I think I want to be fair with everybody. That will be, that's what it is in my head. So I don't know. I don't know if the organizations are going to be able to support everyone or just any group that they are trying to help. I don't know. It's something that I'm not feeling comfortable about, but it's only me. So.
Okay. I saw Rehana's hand.
Yeah, so I was going to say, in order to take account of the organization part of it, we could say most effectively reach BIPOC communities and organizations serving them. So that way, that organization will be serving that BIPOC family, because I think maybe Monica's concern is that it's going to go outside of that BIPOC community. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, I'm worried about that some communities might not be able to get any part, any help with it. If that happens, like a specific organizations might be able, they're gonna be kind of in charge, I don't know. So that will be my biggest concern, that some families, some groups will not be able to get the benefit. And that's what worries me.
So I'm trying to think of organization, of people outside of the BIPOC community that would probably benefit, but I can't think of.
It's just letting you guys know how I feel, and it does, I mean, it matters if everybody else feels, but I think I need, like, being part of the committee, I need to share my thoughts too about that.
Okay.
Alex, I know you had your hand up for a bit.
You're on mute if you're talking, Alex.
Okay, we can come back to you, Alex. That's okay. Anybody else in the meantime have any more comments they want to add to this portion of the discussion?
It's not no longer super loud in here. Oh my God. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I was kind of piggybacking off of Monica. I'm a little bit like, maybe I'm missing something, which is fully possible, but I know Washington County has a really large, like, Spanish speaking population, a lot of folks that end up doing farm work and stuff who I know have been hit pretty hard. I don't want to leave them out.
But wouldn't they be included in the BIPOC community? I would.
Isn't BIPOC Black, Indigenous, people of color? That's kind of specific.
Just trying to then think of a way how to broaden that to include. Then can we say reach BIPOC and marginalized communities? Can we use both terms? I think that's the only way to get over that hurdle.
I think that would be appropriate. That's just my opinion. Anybody else? See, Alex says both seems good to me. Anybody feel not good about that?
Would you mind repeating it, please, Rihanna? Would you mind repeating it?
I was going to say the most how to spend recovery funds to most effectively reach BIPOC communities and marginalized communities hardest hit by COVID-19. BIPOC and marginalized communities, if you want to shorten it.
Thank you. It looks like Hiral has a question.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with what Monica and Alex were initially saying that, I mean, it could be just that how to spend recovery funds to most effectively reach communities hardest hit by COVID-19. Like, why do we need to be specific about only BIPOC or BIPOC and people of color or marginalized? I mean, everyone is hit by that. So
I have a quick question. I saw that the phrase historically marginalized communities was deleted. I don't know if there was some intention behind why that was deleted, but I'm curious to know, since it looked like we replaced that with a different statement. So
I'm feeling like, I think it is by COVID-19, I think everybody was affected. It didn't matter what group of people or community of color. I think everybody was affected. Everybody lost jobs. Everybody got behind in many things, and they don't have probably what they had it, even if it was a little bit that they had it, but they don't have anymore. But I don't think it was only a specific groups that got affected by COVID. I think the whole community was affected by COVID. And that's why if we're not going to talk about COVID anymore, or we're not going to relate to COVID specifically for this part, still the communities are suffering. The communities got behind in many ways, rents, bills, and all, but it was not only the marginalized groups. I think it was everybody. And that's what I want, that's what I'm feeling. We don't want to exclude anyone. That's what I'm thinking. I don't want any discrimination to anyone. And thinking that maybe this group don't need as much as this group needs, we don't know until we find out the people who got hit by it, the people who was struggling by it. So, and that's what I'm trying to say. I think it's everybody. So everybody's going through very hard times right now. We're not ready. We're not up yet. We're not there yet. We just begin to. It's just a beginning right now. So everybody needs, it doesn't matter where they come from, who they are. There are people who needs this. So that's why I feel like discriminating some if we use some kind of vocabulary in there. So.
Teresa.
I know it's a difficult decision to try and determine how we're going to word it in order to help as many people as we possibly can. I mean, it's the American Rescue Fund, and that's why leaders within the city of Beaverton came to us, the Diversity Advisory Board, to advise them on how to spend these funds. If they, thought it was an easy decision, they wouldn't have asked us, right? But they understood very well that it was a difficult decision and are trying to get as many different stakeholders and community members to share our ideas and opinions and about this. And it's good that we're having the back and forth discussion on whether or not to put back in historically marginalized communities or BIPOC. We just approved the bylaws, and our purpose is to give advice on how we can help to make Beaverton, diverse, equitable, and inclusive, and sharing funds to those who need it the most is exactly that. It's our task, and we're not going to be the ones distributing these funds. I understand and agree where Monica's coming from to distribute it to all those who qualify for it. I also understand and agree with the perspective that you know, when we talk about historically marginalized communities, that in our last discussion, there was sentiment to be more specific that, you know, if it's very broad, how can we, you know, help with parameters to decide who gets it? If you qualify because you were hit hard by COVID, then you qualify regardless of your ethnicity or whatever. I do think, you know, if we were to go through this entire document and take out BIPOC and once again put in historically marginalized, that it would read, you know, to support historically marginalized families struggling due to COVID-19, that would certainly open things up again. And I don't think we had a criteria of who qualifies for it or not. And I don't think that was a part of our responsibility, but yeah, I just wanted to give that. That's not very helpful. Maybe it is, but with the point that even with every single person who applied in the city of Beaverton, that there wouldn't be enough. So the point is that this is for the group of people who truly need it the most. We have no control over who will apply for it. So do we narrow it down by making it BIPOC families and organizations historically marginalized or whatever, or leave it as is? I don't know. I think for the purpose of making it open to as many people as possible, it would make sense to put historically marginalized, but I don't know.
So I'm gonna just jump in here really fast just because I've heard a couple more suggestions come up through the chat since we've been talking, because I know there really was a lot of resistance last meeting to historically marginalized communities. So I you know, maybe people change their mind in the meantime, but I think it's important to be respectful of that previous discussion that was had. A couple of other suggestions. Anusha mentioned vulnerable communities. Paulo also suggested communities disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. Those are a couple of other options for trying to broaden the scope, but also focus it on the people who need it the most. Any thoughts about either of those, Alex?
I'm wondering if we wanted just to kind of figure out what direction we go in and just do like a kind of general vote on if people are leaning towards narrowing it or broadening it. That might help us determine what we're looking at.
Rihanna?
In order to keep it super simple, can we not just say support needy families and organizations struggling due to COVID-19?
Can you say that again, please?
Support needy families and organizations struggling due to COVID-19. Because needy means that they need the money, right? So anyone that needs the money is going to approach the organizations or the persons, appropriate persons. Because not vulnerable, yeah, it's a little bit open-ended. Or if that doesn't work, then I would include both BIPOC families and historically marginalized. Because the thing is, BIPOC families don't typically approach organizations. They're the people that, you know, stay silent. They will suffer in silence. And they're the ones that need the help the most. So I feel that if their organizations can, because they go to their organizations, if their organizations know which communities need help, then they're in the right place to help them. But that's my concern, is they'd rather suffer. They'd rather have, you know, survive on one meal a day. They'd rather just, you know, stay at an aunt's house rather than ask for money to stay in a shelter or whatever. That's my concern there. And that's
I'm
what I wanted to put, yeah.
I'm gonna take Alex's suggestion right now, and I'm gonna ask people, I'm gonna do a quick survey. Raising hands for broadening the scope, and then raising hands for keeping a more narrow scope on the communities that we are advocating get the support. So first we'll start with broadening the language to be more expansive. Who feels like that is what the language needs to reflect? Okay, I'm seeing a couple hands, not a ton here. And who thinks that the language should stay sort of more as is, really focused around BIPOC communities, marginalized communities? Hands.
Rachel, I saw 3 hands for broadening it, and it looks like Rehana's hand is up for not. Actually, Raman, is that your hand up for not broadening it?
Mine up for mentioning both BIPOC and historically marginalized.
Okay.
I saw 3 and 3. Super helpful.
I like what Rihanna is suggesting. I think that covers the community at large, people that are marginalized, as well as BIPOC community, because studies have shown that BIPOC communities have suffered the worst.
I suppose I didn't vote myself. I would personally vote for keeping it more narrow as well.
Is that 5 then for keeping it more narrow? I think I saw.
With Rachel's vote, yes, that would be increased. So then that's the direction we'll take.
Okay. So what's the actual language then for keeping it narrow? What's the final language there?
Well, it sounds like the language that garnered the most momentum was Rehana's suggestion of, I believe, can you repeat it, Rehana?
Oh, so support BIPOC and historically marginalized families and organizations.
Are people feeling okay about that? Anybody feel really strongly against that?
When you mentioned that still being, I wish it could be said to all individuals who've been impacted by it. I think it, not saying just families or anything, or this group or this group, every individual who's been impacted and try to qualify. But I know I'm not feeling comfortable about the decision you guys made, but you know, it is what it is.
Paolo, did you put that down anywhere in the document just so we can see what it looks like right now?
Yeah, I didn't want to touch that document. I've been taking a bunch of notes in another document, but I have Rehana's piece here.
Okay.
Support BIPOC and historically marginalized communities and organizations. And then I also noted too that what Monica had just mentioned. I just didn't want to mess with what you all are already working on with Alexa's hands in there, and didn't want to add my hands in there too, just get it more confusing.
Okay, and the sense that I was getting from Alexis before was that this sort of needed to be kind of wrapped up this month, but do you know if it can be finalized next month?
Yeah, and Teresa, please jump in because this is just what I was gathering from observing when Teresa and Alexis were helping put the agenda together. But my understanding was that it would be ideal to finalize this month, or decide if do y'all need to have another meeting to finalize it again.
So if we were able to finalize it this evening, then Alexis would have a draft ready for us to view that she would email all of us within or before the end of the month of July when she gets back, or without a shadow of a doubt before the next meeting. So if we had any questions, comments, or concerns, then that could be brought forth. I think a representative to bring forth to council, but we're not even at that point yet to have the talks of, hey, who would present this, because we haven't even approved anything yet. So if we are all comfortable, I think now's a fantastic time to make, if there's any further discussion, and then if there is none, to make a motion to approve this. I think we all would want to see it written down, but basically where in red, what Paolo's sharing his screen right now, the parts where it has BIPOC, it would read to what Rihanna had said.
Oh, I think besides this very specific language discussion we've been having, there were a couple of other kind of big themes that we needed to talk about that unfortunately we haven't got to yet, but might be worth visiting right now. One of the things to look at is that list of short-term priorities. Right. Alexis did ask us if they all felt timely and relevant still, if they should be modified to emphasize more culturally specific services and providers that can match the communities being missed. And then another thing for discussion would be if we wanted to elevate our advocacy for the Multicultural Community Center piece. And then generally any other items that don't seem relevant, or things that seem more relevant now that didn't get added. I think we can take a few minutes to address some of those pieces if people have any comments about those. Teresa.
Thank you. I apologize if anyone feels I'm monopolizing time. I promise this will be the last time I say something on the American Rescue Plan. I promise. So I just want to share my thoughts and opinions about the Multicultural Center. As many of you may or may not know, the Diversity Advisory Board has over the years continued to be an advocate for that. And as much as I would like to see that happen, I think being honest, the practical aspect is that it probably will not get done, and not in this calendar year or in this fiscal year. So I think that our efforts can and should be diverted elsewhere. The amount of energy and time to make this happen, I don't see it happening. And we agree to disagree, but with all of the things that City Council is doing, with the fiscal year 2021-2022 having already been made last month at the City Council meeting, with them trying to finish up with funds for the American Rescue Plan, I don't foresee them taking on the project of building a multicultural center within the city of Beaverton. So that's all I'm going to say. Thank you. And I yield my time back to you, Rachel.
Anyone else? Mariana?
So, Teresa, did you say that they're not going to commence building the community center this year, or you don't foresee it ever being built?
This calendar year, 2021. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, Monica?
It might not be possible this calendar year, but in my way of thinking about that, the multicultural community center, it is very needed, and I think we should not make it die. I think we should keep it up, even if it's going to take another year or two. I think that is very important. We've been trying to get this for a while, and I think it's the major reason it doesn't happen is because nobody wants to help doing that, and it's very necessary to have. I think it's very necessary to have a multicultural community center. So I don't want the idea that if we're not going to do it or we're going to just forget about it. No, not me. So that's my opinion. I understand that it's not going to be done this year. Yeah, we are already in July, almost at the end, but I keep it working on it.
I think to sort of maybe balance both the points that are being made here, what's currently written under the longer term priorities regarding the Multicultural Community Center is seed funding to launch a multicultural community center project. So that sort of implies like just sort of beginning stages of investing in a project like that, not full on investing. And so I think that's kind of a sort of a soft advocacy anyway. So I guess my opinion in reading that is that it sort of is balancing already what both of you are saying. But that's just my opinion. Anyone else? Is there anything else in this document as is that folks feel like should be removed or need some serious like reworking? And feel free to just speak up. I'm sorry, the sun is like right in my eyes right now. I cannot see folks very well. So just go ahead and speak up if you have something. Okay, let me maybe ask this a different way. Are folks like excited about these recommendations right now, like as they're written, or are people just maybe not feeling them?
Kim, did you see the question Brandon has?
Did not see that. Is it possible to request money for a site feasibility study? I suppose that could be a much more specific ask in lieu of the bullet point on seed funding that could replace that request. How do folks feel about that?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch what you said. Would you please repeat?
I was saying for that recommendation to replace the first bullet point under longer term priorities that says seed funding to launch a multicultural community center project, we could specifically say funding for a site feasibility study for a multicultural community center in Beaverton.
Yeah, that could be. That language
really
can be, yeah.
That more specific kind of first level request.
Yes.
Sounds good to me.
Yes, and because at least like that, we can keep working and having more study or more working on it to see what and how can we do with the help. So I think that's good, better than just not thinking at all that is going to happen or it won't happen. So I thank you for that part. I like that.
Great, thank you, Brandon, for that suggestion. I'm also just promoted you to panelist so you can actually talk. Go ahead, Brandon.
I'm doing this from my phone, so I don't know if it's working very well. Apologies. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I guess I would just also want to, if possible, include DAB in the process. That way, it's when this happens, it's not. So we could have a little bit of say and oversight, just for transparency and inclusion. You know, being appointed, I guess, board members on behalf of the city relative to diversity. I think it's important for us to have a say, and then also to open it up to the community. That's just my concern with moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Any other thoughts or comments?
Based on what you, am I unmuted? Yes, I am. Based on what you shared earlier, Rachel, it looks like then maybe we're okay with this piece in the community center. And then the other piece then that I don't think we got any feedback was, are we moving on from these short-term priorities in terms of, are they still relevant and should we keep them there? No one really mentioned stuff there, so I wasn't sure if that meant we're good there.
I guess on the short-term priorities, just one thing going back to something Rihanna brought up is how relevant is, for example, that bullet point that refers to the COVID vaccine outreach. I mean, I know that's still an ongoing effort, but is that still relevant enough for us to have in our short-term priorities?
Can I comment on that? Because yeah. I saw the Virginia Garcia is doing already the vaccines by, you know, those little trucks. So I don't think we need that anymore because they're doing it. They're going to the communities looking for people who needs to be vaccinated. And that was, I think, a part of that was part of our concern, trying to find how to make sure that everybody gets vaccinated. So maybe that part we don't need anymore.
I agree. I've seen some smaller organizations also take that on as well. And so that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. And some of the clinics are already closing because they're done. So that means they did their job, what we were looking for.
Do other people feel good about that? Moving that bullet point? Rihanna?
Yeah, just to make sure that, you know, what we can say is that culturally responsive COVID vaccine outreach until further until, you know, it's needed, or until it's not needed, rather. Just so that, you know, no one gets left out, so that we make sure that, you know, anyone that hasn't received services or hasn't been vaccinated or still needs some sort of communication or help with vaccine, they're not forgotten about. So we can just qualify it and say until not needed, or we can completely eliminate. I'm okay with either eliminating it or just giving it further qualification, so that in the future it can be eliminated when everything's done and dusted.
Any other thoughts on that? Remove or qualify? Hands up for remove first, and then for qualify, as Rihanna suggested. Who wants to remove that bullet point completely?
I'll watch the screens for you, Rachel. So who wants to remove that completely? And I'm counting 1, 2. I counted 2.
And
are you voting, Rachel?
Yeah, I'll be in that category.
Okay, so that's 3.
Who wants to qualify it to be as needed?
Okay, that's 1, 2, 3. Oh no!
Anyone who didn't vote, please vote.
It's a tie, so we gotta have everybody vote.
Okay, Brandon says as needed, so as needed, it's gonna be qualified.
All right, cool.
Anything else in that section standing out to anybody as needing to be removed or qualified?
Is it within our capacity to financially support the ventilation system upgrades for schools and hospitals? I don't know if the city of Beaverton has jurisdiction over schools and hospitals. I don't know. I'm not an educator. I don't know. I'm asking. Does anyone know?
That was my question from the beginning. Are we going to be able, do we have the power, or does the district is in charge of that? Is the district the one that it takes care of that, or the city, or I don't know, but I was doubting about that from the beginning. So yeah, I personally, I didn't know if we can do it, or we can be part of it, or trying to fix that part, because I really think that the districts are in charge of all the service for the schools. So that's just me.
I think the fund is coming from the federal, and when that's the case, I think we are capable to do that. That's at least what I think.
That we are capable of doing that?
Yes, because the money is federal. As long as I know, it's from federal, and when that's the case, we are capable to do that. And unless I'm wrong.
Paolo, do you have any insight?
I'm going to make the assumption that maybe not, because, you know, the school district is a separate entity of the city, but I don't actually know. I wrote that question down here, and I'm not sure Alexis would know either, but she's a lot smarter than me, so maybe she would. That's on record now.
Okay, so I think my suggestion for that one is going to be we fact check that, and if it turns out that these funds really couldn't be used in that way, that we just remove that bullet point. And I'm seeing some nods, so. Okay, folks, we're getting to be a little bit over on this agenda item today. So I'm gonna ask that we sort of wrap up this discussion now. Is there any last words anybody wants to add before we move on to the next piece?
Cool. I took on a lot of notes to share with Alexis, and it looks like the next move then would be to actually to continue the conversation, which looks like it's probably gonna be at your next meeting.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that I don't think folks would feel comfortable voting on this until they saw the changes in real time and the updated language and potentially a little bit more conversation.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, though, everyone, I think we're gonna have a hard deadline for next month needing to approve these recommendations. Otherwise, my fear is that a lot of these funds are gonna be allocated in other ways before we can even provide our recommendations. So just something to keep in mind in making our next meeting as efficient as possible with this agenda item. Manijay?
Can we solve some of the issues via email so we don't kind of feel kind of in pressure regarding time?
So that would probably go against public notice violation. Just having
yeah, I forgot about that part. That we cannot do anything via email. Okay. Ignore what I said.
That's a good question, though. Okay, thank you for taking all those notes, Paolo. And hopefully we'll have a final to almost final version of these recommendations ready for you all next month. All right, and thank you everyone for sharing your opinions and your thoughts and being very open to discussion. I know that can be difficult when everybody has a lot of different opinions. So next, it looks like we have Teresa leading a conversation about mutual aid networks, which was a hot topic of brainstorming in April and took a couple of busy months to get back to it. But she's going to lead us in that discussion. So I'll turn it over to Teresa.
Thank you, Rachel. Yes, as Rachel said, just to follow up on the board's brainstorm in April, a discussion on mutual aid networks in Beaverton, and our experiences and ideas on how to support these efforts in mutual aid. So as a refresher, paperwork that was given out in April, and it was also in the attachment for this month, just a quick definition that mutual aid is a voluntary reciprocal exchange of resources and services for mutual benefit. Mutual aid projects are a form of participation in which people take responsibility for caring for one another and changing the community conditions. The goal is to have the Diversity Advisory Board, or DAB, inspire, increase, and promote mutual aid within Beaverton. And DAB can see this initiative as a priority that has the potential to benefit public engagement, housing and livability, economic empowerment, and community building. So I did include some just high-level points about, mutual aid gets people together in the community to provide material support to each other, builds relationships with neighbors based on trust and common interests, making decisions by consensus rather than relying on authority or hierarchy, sharing things rather than hoarding them, providing all kinds of support ranging from food prep to childcare to translation and emotional support, some things that we definitely saw were much needed within our community. And I was reminded that there is an organization within the city of Beaverton called RISE. And there is also the COVID-19 community group based in kind of the border of West Portland and / Beaverton. And I just wanted to have conversations and share, you know, if we have during COVID heard of, seen, or experienced mutual aid, and to build upon that mutual aid, once again, is empowering the community members to help each other, to help ourselves. That with our discussion on the American Rescue Plan and the financial money that is coming from that, that we still, as we've seen, it's hard to figure out who deserves to get what money, right? And we know our communities better than the government does, and we oftentimes know what we need faster than other people. So the goal in April was to be proactive and to work with or build a community in order to have mutual aid networks. Not to say that we still cannot do that in our own small way, but at this point in July, with funds being distributed here, there, everywhere, and with a lot of assistance being given out in the form of vaccinations and support by the federal government, state of Oregon, as well as Washington County, but to still want to have those conversations around mutual aid and what that looks like. I know in the breakout session in April, I had Ahmed in my group, and he shared a small story about how he knew someone who, you know, just through knowing that they needed help to provide them with groceries for a month, or to provide their children with jackets and sneakers, because children go through shoes very quickly. So as the Diversity Advisory Board, with our shared experiences, you know, the DAB has no intention of complete control over any such mutual aid project, but just to keep this in mind, similar to the Multicultural Center, that in order to make things happen, we need to continue to build relationships with our community members in order to make things happen. So with that, if anyone would like to share a story about their mutual aid experience, whether you have gotten something from community or had the opportunity to give to a family in need.
Can I go?
Yes, please.
You know, that's not necessarily only people, needed people or low income people. Sometimes it can happen anywhere. We have a guy here in the building where I have my condominium. He came from Idaho to work here in Portland. He's an engineer, but unfortunately he got COVID. So we didn't see him move his car or anything. I know all of us were in the house, you know, but we can see movement sometimes. So we found out, my neighbor and I, we found out that he was sick and he's alone. So we took turns to cook for him. And we just went upstairs and put at the door, the bag, whatever I cook or when she cooked. So, and that shows you that it's not only on the lower income, it can happen anywhere, and you can be supportive anywhere, any group around you. And I think that was so gracious, because he was very irritated even with the poor gardeners when they came to mow the lawn, and he will text, you know, let me sleep. And we did not understand why he was so upset until we find out that he was with COVID and he was by himself, you know, totally. So we start planning to come and let's do something for him without, you know, so without hitting. Sometimes people feel bad about if somebody's going to help, you know what I mean? So he never knew who was bringing the food to him, because now he moved. He went back to Idaho. So I think that those are the things that we need to remember, that it can happen anywhere to anybody, and we should be ready to be there to help each other. It doesn't matter who the person is. And that's the little story I had to share with you.
Thank you, Monica. Mutual aid experiences, anyone? Rihanna? You're on mute.
Sorry, should be experienced by now. So I can share a little story about our community. We have a lot of kids from refugee families who need a lot of help in school. So what we do is we designate our kids who are in higher grades to tutor these kids online via Zoom. And you know, they really appreciate the help, the math help, the English help. And some of these families who have multiple kids. So I know one family who the whole entire family and their extended family got COVID. So they were unable to go to school, and they don't have computers, you know, they have very little Wi-Fi. So, you know, we were able to supply them with laptops and computers and then give them online tutoring as well. So I think that's one mutual aid type of activity.
My experience is that most of our mutual aid was through Unite Oregon. And this organization, we had like gave gift cards or like money for rent. And so our mutual aid was through this organization, which was really helpful. And I don't have the statistics right now. We helped so many through this COVID. And as we have been always, but this COVID was like elevated our aid. And so that's my story.
Anyone else want to share about mutual aid that they saw within the community or that they did? No, that's okay. Okay, if you feel the need to share, feel free to just speak up and I will be silent, because as you all know, if you don't know by now, I can fill the void with words, so don't be shy. So I just wanted to share this, that as each and every one of us here on the Diversity Advisory Board is a liaison for not only DAB, but for the city of Beaverton when we're out and about, that, you know, what could this mutual aid be for, you know, the vision of DAB? We already are, like I said, liaisons for our community. We are representers. We are the bridge between community and government. You know, even though we have Alexis on here and Paolo, and we have, you know, Neil and Marc and Soucie from time to time. He's busy right now, but, you know, we are the bridge within the community, and no intention to start some type of, you know, fiscal monetary drive or anything, but that we could, in our own little way, initiate and continue this project of mutual aid, that, you know, the Diversity Advisory Board is not or would not be liable for, you know, financial due diligence of anyone who would want to do mutual aid. And we are just there to share information and resources as we already do. And that DAB is here to motivate members of the community and as many people as possible in the form of mutual aid groups, and to help anyone with basic needs. Like I said, just being a connection to the resources that the city of Beaverton has. And even if we don't know someone, we know someone who knows someone. You know, Montague knows a whole network of people through Unite Oregon, and, you know, Rihanna knows a bunch of people who are parents, and, you know, Raman with his fantastic good looks and just his networking of people in community. Raman, I made a joke and you didn't even smile. I made a "you're a good looking" joke and you didn't even like bat an eye or anything. Anyways, I'm going to continue on. So, you know, there are 11 neighborhoods within the city of Beaverton, and with all of us representing different neighborhoods that we live in, that we have the power to help grow mutual aid within each and every NAC or neighborhood association committee within the city of Beaverton. And if you happen to have someone who approaches you, who says, hey, can you tell me more about mutual aid? If you don't know anything, feel free to reach out to me. Everyone should have my number and contact information. Don't share it, but you received it in your DAB binder roster, okay? So, but if you wanted to start your own little group of mutual aid, I would encourage you to make no more than 20 people participants. And I will share in the chat box some of the resources if you would like to continue on and make your own little mutual aid group. And I would encourage you and all of the people viewing at home later on YouTube or whatever, since this is recorded, that mutual aid is important and you have the power to change the world you live in, even in a small way, just being nice to your neighbor. That's how we all got here. And dropping a dime for apply to boards, committees, and commissions, because your voice matters. And you never know, you know, here we are, we're all here and we're missing some people from our meeting, and those faces are truly missed. And it's nice to have quorum, and it's nice to be able to have a nice strong vote, especially when, as you saw this evening, we reached a tie on more than one occasion. So there's that. So I will just leave you with that conversation on mutual aid. I had more of a presentation in April, but after a few months, it kind of lost its steam. So there it is, but it is not dead. Mutual aid is still a powerful thing, and you don't need to rely on government in order to make things happen. That we are the people and change starts with us. Yeah. And no one can fire us because we're volunteers. So take that. There you go. Yeah. So, Monaje, you have anything you'd like to add lastly?
Yeah. Would you please email the information, because the chat will go away as soon as the meeting is finished.
Yes.
So all those resources that you talk about, if we can have them in email, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yes. So if you looked at your attachment that was with the email for this meeting, it was there.
I saw
you have it, and I will also put it in the chat. So
okay, yeah, I saw that. I thought you were going to have more. In that case, I haven't. Thank you.
Okay, yes. So I know that Jody, if she's still listening, she has contact to Rise. I do not. She's the one who told me about them. And I was searching for mutual aid groups within the city of Beaverton, and believe it or not, they're kind of few and far between. There are a lot of 501c3 nonprofits, but you know, I'm talking about people who don't get paid, who are volunteers, which there's nothing wrong with 501c3 people, but you know, I don't get paid for being here. So I'd like, yeah, man, volunteers, power to the people. So that's my little, sorry, it's just been a long day. So I'm going to say mutual aid, and I will put that in the chat. I apologize. I don't have more resources for mutual aid groups. Maybe they're there. So shout out to any mutual aid people, if you're watching this, to please come to our next meeting so you can tell us about yourself, because help us help you help our community. So there's that. With that, Rachel, I give you the rest of the time. Paolo has something to say on mutual aid, and then we'll be done.
All I have to say about mutual aid is Jody has something to say about mutual aid.
I just wanted to throw out there that one of the super active groups for mutual aid in like the Washington County area. And in fact, one of the coolest things that they just recently did was they did during that big heat wave, they managed to distribute, I think it was about 40 or 45 air conditioners to folks during that time. And if y'all are on Facebook, you should look them up so we can help support. And it's called Mom Block, but it's MXM space BLOC, and they do all their organizing over Facebook. They're really active in Washington County.
That's awesome. Thank you, Jody. And we're about to come right back to you, I think. But first, thank you, Teresa, for leading that conversation and sharing, doing the research and sharing your resources about mutual aid, and for those of you who just shared your own personal stories. And now it is time to talk about the Beaverton Night Market, which is back and very exciting. I know nothing about the night market, so I'm going to turn this over to Paolo and Jody to...
Are you serious?
I mean, I know about the night market, but I have no idea about the logistics for this year, which is why I can't lead this conversation. And I know they have some asks for us, such as volunteering and helping to promote the market. So I'm going to turn it over.
Jody, I have a few things, but you are the night market guru, and I'll let you go first if you want, or I don't know if you're driving or whatnot, I could jump in.
I just parked when I heard night market stuff, but I would like to offer the mic first to anybody on the subcommittee who would like to provide any updates. All I see is Monica, Manije, Rehana. I think Shara was here at some point.
Hi, yeah. Just trying to cast my mind back to the meeting and see what I can remember.
It was vendor selection.
Oh yeah, we did that, right? So we decided on, we debated on, we had 99 applications for vendors. Out of those 99, we chose 32, was it, Jody? 32 vendors, and we made sure that vendors were selected based on, you know, so the different backgrounds, and we made sure that food items were represented, and what the manager helped me out. So we decided on food items from different
artworks and
jewelry,
cultural thing, yeah.
Cultural stuff. Anyway, so we did narrow it down to 32 vendors. That was the last discussion we had. It was quite an extensive meeting, and there was some back and forth, but we did eventually decide, and I believe a list has been compiled in a document which was sent with the email. That is all on your email. And also we discussed the layout of the meeting. It's a new location, and whether we need to have reserved tickets or not. And we were waiting for the guidelines, the COVID guidelines to relax, and now they have been relaxed. I believe we're not having reservations now. And that's as far as we got. So we're finalized. We finalized everything. We just need your help in distributing the marketing materials to your communities and anywhere that you can, you know, you can promote the market as much as possible so that we can get, you know, a large crowd, a good turnout. And we also have performers. So we have a list of performers, and we're collaborating with the Art Talk project as well. So we have a lot happening. It's going to be an exciting event. It's going to be busy. It's going to be different. A new venue, new location, you know, different format, different layout, lots of performers. And we need your help in promoting the event. So I believe Alexis sent out the flyers for you guys to distribute. So we're hoping that, you know, it's going to be a good event.
Thank you, Rihanna. I'll actually go ahead and jump in because that dovetails into what I had written down too, which is that for promotional materials and whatnot, if you need any, let us know. I think we have some physical copies that we can give you, but yeah, like Rihanna mentioned, you did also get an email that you could also print out some flyers if you need. The other one, I just want to share, social media is going on, as in we are on the Facebook, sorry, and you could go there and like it. Now, one thing I just want to say is I did, some searching through my own personal Facebook, and I noticed if we put Beaverton Night Market, that for some reason it had like a previous year in there. So make sure you're looking at the one for this year, and then I make sure that you're actually saying going or interested, so that way you're getting the correct updates from the correct Facebook event page. The other one I just wanted to say is that orientation, Jody, correct me if I'm wrong, but July 15th, what day is that? Is that Thursday? Yeah, July 15th. Orientation, vendor orientation is July 15th. There's 2 sessions, one in the morning, 9 to 11 a.m. and then one 6 to 8 p.m. in the evening, and which will be at the community center. And so you're all welcome to go to that. I don't know if I'm missing any other days, but I think all of them are going to be just in that day. And the last thing, is there anybody here looking to volunteer? And I'll just take a raise of hands now if anybody's looking to volunteer. Let me put my hand down. I'll be there. So Teresa, Monica has 2 hands up. So Monica's bringing somebody. Okay, so Teresa and Monica. And
what exactly are the volunteer opportunities here?
I don't know. But
anything.
I thought just being part of the subcommittee is volunteering, and because we continue working on that. So I don't need to say I am going to do it because I'm already doing it.
I'm going to assume that that's the case as well, but just so I could have something to report to Alexis, I'll take your hands anyways. So
yes.
Manager Teresa, who else raised their hand? Monica.
I will be out of town, but I will be volunteering in spirit.
Okay.
Be out of town.
Spiritual hand. Okay, cool. Thank you, Rachel. I got your hand. Anybody else want to go ahead and volunteer to be there? Okay, Raman. And then just one thing, I think we could always use more volunteers. So I know y'all have friends and folks in the community. If you all want to share that the night market is needing volunteers this year, please do so. That's all I've got.
Brandon and his kids should volunteer.
Can I add to your all's updates?
Please do.
Yeah, that was really great and really comprehensive. And I know that the Dept subcommittee has a meeting coming up next week, and it feels like it's been a long time since we've met, or at least it feels like a lot has happened since the last time we met. The governor did open up the state officially, and so we did add some more vendor spaces because the vendors don't need to be as spaced out. There will be more details on that at the Dept meeting, but at the subcommittee meeting, I mean. But we are going to have more than 32 vendors, which is really exciting, and are no longer working with a reservation system or any kind of fencing, which means that it's open and accessible to all, which is really exciting, and I'm really happy about that. It's going to be on August 13th and 14th, which is a Friday and Saturday, so the vendors are going to leave their booths up overnight. We're going to have security there watching over their stuff. Which is good for them because it's much less work, and definitely looking for volunteers. Volunteer roles are still being fleshed out alongside the Chalk Art Festival, which is happening partially in that space, in the night market space, and partially outside of it. And like Paolo said, this is a huge plug for you all right now to get on your Facebook. In the past, Facebook, we've done surveys for attendees, and social media is the primary way in which people hear about this event, and word of mouth. So talk it up, August 13th and 14th. It's definitely going to be the sort of the community event that we need to like feel like a community again. I feel like we've really been missing that, and so this is going to be popping, y'all, and I think you should make sure to invite everybody to check it out.
This is the biggest event at the city every year.
Of course.
So, of course. What did Jody say? It will be popping, y'all.
Yeah, it will be popping.
Yeah. Excuse me, Jody. When are we going to meet again?
Well, I will see you at the vendor orientation, Manije, on Thursday. Yes. But our subcommittee meeting is on the 19th. Next, okay. I think that's next Monday.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Jody, I was gonna message you this, but your interpretation for the morning is all good to go. Just waiting on the interpreter for the afternoon or evening.
Excellent, thanks.
What language? Only Spanish or?
Spanish, but if others are requested, let me know now.
Yeah, if you need Persian, I'm available.
Boom.
Thank you, Manije.
Sure.
All right, did we get what we needed from that? Jody and Paulo?
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask away.
Awesome. Well, I think we have one more meeting before the night market, but I look forward to seeing a bunch of you there. And with that, we come to our final agenda item today. Paulo, are you going to share the staff liaison announcements?
Yeah, I can do that. I shared the staff liaison announcements that Alexis created. So let me go to them again here in a second. See, but while I'm looking for it, were there any questions? And I can't see the screen right now, so yell obnoxiously at me and I'll come back. Okay.
I just want to have one comment. As much as I love you to be here and I'm so happy to see you, but I miss Alexis as well.
I miss you, Manage, believe me. I miss Alexis. She deserves vacations, but I don't always enjoy that, but she deserves vacations. Yeah, so I as y'all know, I also have staff liaison to the Human Rights Advisory Commission, or HTAG, and usually when we send out the liaison updates, I send them out ahead of time, and then I pick my favorite one to talk about. But we just talked about it, and that's the Beaverton Night Market. But just to add on to what Jody was saying about it, the actual date, the actual location, it's going to be Southwest 1st Street and Southwest Tucker. So it's going to be kind of like that intersection there. And just one thing I wanted to share is I once upon a time was on the DAB, and we were the folks who started the first night market. And I remember mentioning how in the Philippines, we wanted to replicate night markets that we see in other parts of the world, Southeast Asia, is one that I reference most because that's what I'm familiar with in the Philippines. And to have a street just locked down and not locked down, blocked off so cars can't go through there and people could just take ownership over that street. That's what we had intended for. And so I'm pretty stoked to see that this is happening. Also, people are hungry to get out of their houses. So
this will be the real first time that we do the way we was talk about on the streets. Actually.
I remember that. I remember talking about that with you.
Yeah.
Not to say all the other past night markets haven't been successful and beautiful and great, because they absolutely have. Like I said, it's the biggest event that the city throws. So go down.
Yeah, but this is a different one. This is going to have a different flavor, I guess. It's a new experience being on the streets. So I think
because we're coming out of the pandemic too. But I agree.
Hey, I also want to share. I want to share something about night market too to tack on to Paulo's sentiments. I know that everybody, it feels like on the planning committee, on the subcommittee, and as attendees and stuff are really removed from a lot of the details of communication with vendors and performers. But there is a really vibrant, supportive, and active entrepreneurial community among the vendors for the night market that is really beautiful to watch grow and support each other. And if somebody is interested in that aspect of it, I would encourage you to attend the orientation sessions this Thursday if you're available, because it's really beautiful to see the inside of it.
Yes. I will see you Thursday night, Jory.
People also bring samples. I don't know if that's still the case this year. But...
Yeah.
Not this year, Paulo. Sorry, not this year.
Just kidding. That's all I got. Unless folks have questions.
Did I miss the conversation about the posters? The DAB posters. Did anybody mention that yet?
Paolo has posters and postcards.
No. I meant how we have like a diversity advisory board exhibit or something, and we have like personal posters about us for the night market, where we share like maybe an aspect of our very first item on the staff liaison announcements. Give you like an aspect of like, I don't know.
I know that the planning, I mean, we have all the posters from the years before, and the planning is in the works for getting, making posters for new DAB subcommittee members. I'm not sure who on Alexis's team is leading that.
So last year it was Maria facilitating that, but you know, y'all just send in the information you want to have on those posters. And I apologize, I don't have it in front of me to like, what does that information collection look like? If y'all keep like talking and filling silence, Teresa, cue you. I'm gonna look in Alexis's folders now to see if I find anything there. But yeah, Maria and team, i.e. me, are usually the ones who support that.
There was an email about that actually. I think Rihanna posted a picture that she wanted to be used, and so did Ugana. Rachel, I saw your photo on there that will be used as a poster. Cynthia, of course, Cynthia Moffett. And Monica has one already on there. There are quite a few.
I think I have one already there.
Yes.
Yep. If you were on DAB, I think 2019 and up, I think is when they first started the posters.
Brandon has one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have a specific space allocated on the map that we're calling the DAB exhibit.
Ooh, your face everywhere. And
Did we start that in 2017?
Ooh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Lots happened since
then. No sabes.
I think we had it. I think we had it for 2 years, and then the COVID happened. That's how I remember.
So
yeah, I think you're right.
If you don't know if you have a poster or you do know that you don't have a poster and you're interested in submitting a poster of yourself and a little bit of information about you or your culture or your heritage or something like that, just connect with Alexis and she will know exactly what information she needs to get from you. And we'll leave it at that. And if you're not interested in participating in that, that's totally fine.
Yeah, so I don't have those initial questions that are shared, but I'm just kind of scanning through here. The folks, if you see your name there, you have a poster. But yeah, I like what Rachel said. Let's go with that.
And with that, is there any other updates or announcements from anyone?
Oh, yeah.
Looks like that's typically what's asked for. Where?
Yeah.
What? I hope that helps.
I guess the meaning was a specific place or important place for your country, or maybe where you were born. So I think that's what they were looking on the poster, like mine is La Mitad del Mundo, which is very iconic in my country. So I think that's what it needs to be on the poster.
Thank you, Monica.
Cool. Anything else from anyone?
I know that the city of Beaverton held their own BOLD program. So the city of Beaverton has BOLD programs, and the city of Tigard also through Unite Oregon has their own leadership program to encourage BIPOC community, Black, Indigenous people of color to get civically engaged. So once again, the city of Beaverton is a leader in raising up our communities of color in getting civically engaged and becoming leaders in their community to speak up for themselves. So very happy with the Tigard Gold first class that was able to go through and the many classes to come. And once again, following Beaverton in educating and empowering our community members. So shout out to the city of Tigard in their endeavors to continue to do that and working with Unite Oregon. So hooray. I know because I was a guest speaker for them, and then they had their graduation. So awesome. Keep doing that. We hope that other cities in Washington County will uplift and educate and embolden community members and communities of color and get as many people as possible civically engaged, because as our community continues to get busy, you know, because they're older and they have things to do or starting families, we always need fresh ideas in all of the cities. Wherever there are people, there needs to be fresh ideas. So not just in Beaverton, even though we are fantastic, we are also, you know, I have to drive outside of Beaverton to go places. So I'd like for those places to also be diverse and equitable and inclusive. So we're getting there. Yes, we're inspiring our neighbors. So just wanted to share that a little bit. And with that, we have a minute to go. So maybe we'll finish early. It's okay.
Teresa, I'm calling you out for being too humble. You graduated from that program, Manager J did, Monica, and I'm not sure if I'm missing anybody.
Shara.
Yeah, Shara, yeah, Shara too. I know Shara.
Ahmad.
Oh, Ahmed.
Ahmad.
Yes. Yes. So
I know about Tiger. I was on the phone for an hour with them helping them build that program.
They're doing well. They're doing well. So thank you for your words. They're doing it, making it happen. And with that, I yield my time to Rachel. So there is great stuff happening. There's diversity, equity, and inclusion being done in little pieces all over the place and mutual aid happening, but we got to keep it going to continue to inspire people and educate people and remind people that we have more things in common than we have differences.
I think that's a nice sentiment to end on. So we're just going to end there. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for being